1. Well, hello, everybody. We believe that this is live. It says it is, so we believe that is the case. So, welcome, everybody. So good to see you. We speak favor over you. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Be our everyday reality. And if you want that, well, start speaking it because it will show up on the other side. Trust me on that one. This is Tuesday, which is a good day. I like it. It's one of my favorite days of the week. This is a second look. Miss Trina is going to be here. She was with a client this morning, which, as many of you know, that can be extremely taxing.
Mhm.
So she will be joining us as she re-energizes. In the meantime, I have the beautiful, and I always love having the chance to be on a show with you, Jenny, Miss Jennifer Roberts.
Thank you so much. It's this weekly drenching of good vibes that brings me back every week.
It is
In
good vibes. You know
yeah,
that it is.
it is.
Yeah, I find it to be it's refreshing, it's
Hmm.
recharging,
Hmm.
and I just love it. It's a time of fellowship because that's
Fellowship,
how I see it.
it is, and that's
Yeah,
what gets missing when you drop the organized religion.
yeah,
Um, we need people like you that are willing,
thank
to
you
the
so
bus
much.
running, and have a place. But we do, and we
We
need
do.
people to come and bring their own vibes to the
Yeah.
congregation, because that's where the power's lost,
Yeah.
where you get into that void, and there's no structure, there's no that judgment card was coming out in nearly every video I did for each zodiac. There's no ritual or purpose or routine, and you lose all of that, and you want to get as far away from that for a little while you transmute the feelings you have, after leaving something like that, anything like that.
Hmm.
But there's an avoidance sometimes to come back that actually was just used by them because it was powerful and it was
Yeah.
good and it was healing and it made you come back, every week. So we need these, and it's just great that we can have an internet building.
Yeah, technically, this group, you could say it is a congregation into
Mm.
itself. It is, in a literal sense, a coven. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, there are covenant individuals here, and it's it's the old idiom, birds of a feather flock together. You and I were talking about birds before we It's like, oh, I'm out here. That, we feed the birds every day, and you were telling the story of your crows and the magpies. I mean, it's, yeah, I mean, I love this group. And it's one that we have those that have crossed over. I'm sure they
Mhm.
tune in all the time too.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And
I don't know what they have going for them, but you know, I don't think we're that far. I don't believe we're that separated.
we're
We
only a
may
veil
not be able to.
away. We're literally only a veil away. And
Yeah,
however thick
yeah.
that veil might be depends on both parties. And the fact that some people are present seemingly only in memory and in heart and in thought of the people that remember them, that's not always a thing. Of some people get really disappointed at that, and I'm like, no, you mistake me. I don't feel like they're in chaos. I don't feel like they're in dismay. I feel like they got busy, they got busy in the frequency that they're in right now, and they're perfectly happy doing that, and they know that you would be too if you were thinking about it that way. So again, some people really crave that message from those that have crossed over, and sometimes um, I think there's a lot of indoctrination that once people pass over, you have to hear from them. Some people have been so powerful, they put imprints on everybody they meet. And they like those birds singing to the trees. They know they can go off and be busy elsewhere because they've left the living word in each and every person with all those different perspectives that they've met. And that to me brings me joy when I feel spirits like that. I'm like, yeah, go get them, well done. You left your mark here and you're going on there. It's a mix, isn't it, of people?
It is. When you talk about the bird singing, I used to run a lot. And when I lived in Colorado, particularly in the spring and the summer, I'd be out running typically at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was just a perfect time. And that time between 4 and 5, the birds start singing. They're in the trees and they're ushering in this, new day.
Mhm.
From a certain esoteric point of view, each day holds within itself the renewal of life itself, new hopes, new desires, etc.
New blood cells, new everything in that sleep mode. All of that's rejuvenating and recycling and replenishing and rebirthing. And it is. It's sometimes to be like a bird is the most powerful thing you can do,
I
especially
fly
on,
in my dreams.
yeah,
I
100%.
don't have
When you
wings, but
can
I can
run,
fly.
I look like a fish that's escaped the pond when I try to run. I really do. I look like a goldfish on that. Doesn't look good. That's the one thing I've done too well. But so yeah, put me back in the pond if you see that. But for flying, I do regularly.
Hey, Trina, how are you, darling?
I'm good. How are you? Hi, Tim.
Well, we are uniquely favored here, and it's so good. And now that you've joined it, it's a trifecta. So
I
I
love
can't,
it.
we speak all the time, and I speak nothing missing, nothing broken. That's exactly how I feel right now. It's like, if
Y'all
I
know
could
the
define
power.
satisfaction, it'd be this moment.
Yeah, don't we all know the power of a trinity too? Bam, baby.
Don't we? Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
maybe.
seriously.
Yeah, seriously.
That's all I gotta say. Hey, chat room, how are y'all doing so good? I think it was Shirley and others, yeah, they went and watched that movie, Man from Earth. I really,
I want to watch.
it
I don't
is
think
one
I
of the most,
did.
it's so thought-provoking because the postulation of the theme of the movie is, could there be a person, whether they're a human being, a Homo sapien, Homo Cro-Magnus, is it possible that within our species that there are those, because of the DNA code in certain activations, and even he said he didn't know why, that have this ability when they got to about the age of 30, 35, they stopped aging, and they are, in this case, John was well over 40,000 years old.
Oh, I need
And
to
the
see.
way that he explained, he was Jesus. He
Mhm,
was. He
mhm.
explained to his colleagues that how he died was a Buddhist technique of being able to slow your body down, even with immense pain or with what would appear to be mortal wounds. You can literally get yourself so low in energy expert. And he said when he awoke, from the event, um, he said he was the one struggling to open up the tomb, and his idea was to get out of there before anyone else got there.
Yes.
And he said the problem was there were two soldiers there that he said messed up the whole thing.
Wow.
And and I'm giving kind of the story away. The one professor, she turned out to be a very devout Christian. This was blowing her whole freaking construct of her reality. She couldn't handle it because the thought got in that, because the way John explained it was so, it made sense. So
You
Makes
know,
yeah.
more
that's
sense
part
if
of
you did
my
it, though.
memory.
Huh?
That's part of my memory. Remember, I told you that I've seen these
Yeah.
things because I think I'm somehow connected to that bloodline. And
He
with
said he
them.
met one other that he suspected that was the same thing that he was.
You know what they called that, Wayne? It was stasis. He went into stasis.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what they,
yeah.
and it was an
And he said
anointing.
it was never meant to be a religion. He said that wasn't my purpose. He
That's
said,
what it's, yes.
yeah, he said, I tried to tell everybody. He said, I didn't have thousands around me. He
No,
says, in fact, I had very few around me.
no, he was hiding most of the time. It was
It's
like,
like,
it was terrible. That was my
oh,
conscience
it's
of that,
crazy.
was that this was a very not good thing. This, like this, what they were showing people was not okay. And what they were showing was these ancient techniques of sexual healing, all of these ancient, very serious healing practices, shifting the vibration, making yourself be able to disappear, to be able to levitate, all of these things that the monks and stuff, and he learned all of that, but he was a master at it.
Well, he
So
was way
it,
before the monks.
yeah,
It sounded like, as he said, he studied under Buddha,
yes.
and that's what he said. And he
Well,
brought that. What's that, Jenny?
there's a lot of scrolls in India as well that the UK tried to send the army to go and get back,
Yep.
um, under religious pretexts because there's a great movie somebody put together on their own, just a documentary type thing. I'll have to try and find it. But he followed these scrolls, and they're there. And you can go in, but they will not let them leave. They had to hide them from the British Army when the British Army came and tried to say, give us them with guns, at the temple.
Mm-hmm.
And those scrolls that still exist, where, that's the whole flip up ritual humiliation of organized religion, and that they've taken all of the powers of it, distorted those powers, and used them at the top in the same very powerful ways, but with more negative and damaging intent. And the people at the bottom are guilted and shamed about sexual prowess and tantric ability with another. If anything, he was a bit of a hippie, and to learn that stuff, you have to put it around a bit. You have to practice with people and yourself. But isn't it though that they're the nuts and screws of the story? If he was able to get to that master level, I'm telling you, you have to practice. You have to
And
practice like
he
breath work.
in the books, John, as he said, he said, I never meant anything in a religion, and so he's being questioned by all these professors, right, his friends, and they said, all right, so how do you explain the Bible then? He said, well, he said, the fact is, he says, most people don't know what the Bible is, but he said, here's the problem with the Bible. He says, you have a group of men who had before them probably thousands of ancient documents, ancient belief systems, rituals. He said, the full gamut. And
Well,
he
and
says, you
Ryan
can't,
too,
what's that?
at that time, Judaism was still polytheistic. So
Yeah,
they were
it's like,
worshiping multiple gods at that
yeah,
time. Yeah.
he was saying that you can't synthesize it down to 66 books.
No.
No.
So you can't. But
Don't
he
know if
says
we
we
did that
did.
no simultaneously then, Trina. I think we both said no at the same time.
I mean, you just can't do that. And
No.
anyway, so because, the theme for today, I thought, well, who's the true enemy of humanity? I mean, is it really this fictitious construct that we call a god? Is there really this punishment system that's here? Or is it us who are we're so programmed that we're punishing ourselves, thinking that somehow this is piety and this is the way to ascension?
I was thinking about that when you were posing that question. And you know what I kept hearing? It's consciousness. So
Mm-hmm.
it's either way. It's what you do with it. It's you. It's you. It's us. It's the collective. It's us. We we are the reason for the suffering. There's no other reason. It's us. So that's a hard thing to swallow, but it's real. It's all energy. It's all consciousness and what you believe and what you think, and that energy is going out of you. and it is creating in the universe and it returns back to you. There's no other way to break that law. These universal laws supersede our beliefs.
It's like
That's
Hughes said, Iusus, and the way that he expressed how this name Jesus came about is like, you realize that it started from the Greek, moved through the Roman, and then became European.
Mhm.
And it carried with it, each time the name changed, it carried more authority, more power, because that's exactly what the church wanted.
and that's what it was taking and gaining. When
Bingo. It was used as a tool of
No.
control. Jesus.
Yeah. And you know what the original name, when they said, Mary, what will you name him? Because they knew he was the Christ child. She said, Emmanuel. What does Emmanuel mean? God with you, God with us. That means God with us. So Emmanuel. Interesting though, it's another L. Think about that. That's Elohim. So it's interesting when I think about the names. But like I said, Lord was always it, which means ruler, master, greater than. And, ultimately it was teacher, because teacher, that teaching, this is what it is. It's consciousness. It's like when you learn
But
these.
we're in a trap, though, in that, because as you said, Lord, so the vast majority of the world immediately thinks Christianity. They think a structure, and then they'll do a little mixing of Judaism and ancient Hebrewism, etc., and to bring into this conjuring of a so-called being called the Lord, or as we read in the book of Genesis, the Lord God.
Right.
And and I'm just thinking to myself, well, I've been reading, it's called The Five Pillars of Islam. And it's real interesting because in Islam, much like Judaism and much like Christianity, it's a reward punishment ideology.
Yeah. Just
And it says that you are a god. It's what it said. I mean, I'll bring it out to the group. In fact, I have it up. It says that you are a god, but your purpose here is to submit yourself to a greater intelligence. Now, it's interesting in the five pillars of Islam, it's the primary third pillar of Christianity. And the number one pillar in that hierarchy is faith.
yeah.
You see,
Beyond all
Allah
question.
will punish you if you don't have faith.
Hmm.
God will punish you because he says without faith, it is impossible to please God.
Hmm.
Has anyone seen a theme here?
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
But
invisible
then
runner
again,
machine, isn't it? It's the invisible runner machine that they've got people
yeah,
on. And I've always
yeah.
said it, and I've always known it's the original MK Ultra. It's where those techniques were really honed in on, of how to get people singing, open up their DNA, and pummel them with the guilt, the shame,
Yeah,
and
because if you're a God, tomorrow I'm going
yeah,
to be, how does a God act? I think it's
yeah.
a good question for us, ladies. I was meditating this morning in the shower, and the whole thought come to me, well, now wait a minute, Steiger. Exactly. How does a God act? You keep saying you're one, so where's the manual?
the
If
manual is
thee be God or goddesses, thou shalt do. And I didn't get that manual.
no, but I got a manual for me that told me that the difference is God is good over desire. So it's good over desire. So the acts of faith is like when you know by your faith in goodness, some things are right and some things are not right. And you sometimes want to do things that aren't right, but you go with the good because
But
that's
can I
the
challenge that?
huh?
Can I challenge that?
Yeah.
I used to have that construct, but
Uh-huh.
I, I'm seeing there's a realm of consciousness where it's not a question of good versus bad. You do good because we're trained into a belief system or a system of what is defined as good. Now, we're Westerners. You go over into the Easterners, and you're going to find out that some of their good customs to us would be very bad. So what I'm saying is that if it there the I think the elevation of wisdom, if you were to see this, would be like a stair-step ziggurat. And if we were climbed up to that point, you get above the point of where there is this good and evil. Because
Yeah.
once you get out of that, well, then it has, I guess what I'm trying to say, you don't help me out here. It's like you
Well,
don't.
that I resonate with, because the perception can change in one painting by where you stand on the floor. And you can put that to any life matter as well. You know, the perception of a relationship that you think could be really screwed up, but you don't know the connections that have been made over time, you know, behind closed doors. So from your perspective, it might be completely wrong, but from their perspective, it might be completely right. So again, that going beyond that, the good and bad is the words that are very highly triggering indoctrination wise for us to take a stance in a political way when we're not even thinking on a political mindset, because we've just been told that's good. That's a good Christian. That's
Wouldn't
a
it
good
be that energy, Trina,
Republican.
that you would jive, you would sense it?
That's
That
what
would
I
be
think.
good.
You know, sometimes we just want to be stinkers, and sometimes we want to test
Yeah.
that, you know,
Well,
test
growing
that
up, I mean, are
boundary.
you telling me you didn't torment your brothers and sisters? I'd
Right,
call you a
right,
liar.
right. So that's what I mean. We come here for these challenges. This
And it
isn't
was
an
funny.
that we created to experience those types of challenges. Because in the higher realms, we don't have this type of duality. It's different. So what I see is we come into these lower dense states of consciousness. So we would be forced into the illusion of a separation. So you could like test your own soul, test your own self. So this is
Yes.
all about consciousness. So
Expand your reality.
yeah, and what you were formed into, which is your culture, like you said, the cult of URE energy. You are that energy because you were in that culture. It literally builds your DNA. It's that powerful. So yes, these different environments that we've been brought up in, they've affected our perception, our vocabulary, the
Oh,
way
yeah.
we
Yeah.
feel about things. But this is all about choice.
Yeah.
It's
In the
all
movie Legion, Satan said that the reason why we have the dent on our lips,
yeah.
yeah,
Shh.
Oh, the filtrum, yeah.
yeah,
That's
you're not
right.
supposed to tell, you know.
That's right. Shh.
And it gets me back to this thing then. Maybe that, and I play these scenarios in my head all the time, is that, okay, so if I'm a god, then what's going on here? And I look back, January 19th, I'll be 25,000 days old. And it's significant. So if you turn 68 and a half, you're 25,000 days old. That's when it comes in for everybody. Did you know that?
I
I
didn't
didn't
know that.
know.
Isn't that, come on, help
That's
me out.
amazing.
It is, and there's something significant about it. And I mean, 25,000 days, it's
I
different than
just love that
26.
way of thinking about it though, for the perception thing that you just said before, in that that's a really more infinite way of feeling about how infinite you are, isn't it? By not going just by the 1 year, but adding
Yeah.
up those huge milestones. Because again, the perception of our 1 year, 2 year, 3 year system makes us feel like we're here for a really short time. But when you're starting to think in that way of consciousness and look at those kinds of numbers, you start to recognize, even in the shortest period, I'm infinite. You know, like
I
I
change every day. We all do. And that's interesting.
yeah,
We live a life and a death every day.
that's great. I love that way. That's
Yes.
So, and as I've looked back now, I have realized I have been a god all along. My
You're,
creative ability was captured by an ideology. It was called my religion.
but you came into this construct creating it.
Yeah.
You created it.
And you know
That's what
why,
I'm saying.
I went to it? Because I was always looking for the supernatural, the miraculous.
honing
Bingo.
in on it. You were
Bingo.
honing on it. you were
Yeah.
doing the rods, your spirit was doing the rods. We said something similar to that last week, of where you were honing in on where you were feeling that essence and that power, like we spoke at the start. And and the other thing is, I did a video a while ago to say we can't actually have freedom without constraint. And I feel that's where we are right now. We've been micromanaged so much, but then there's ludicrous amount of freedoms going on right now, especially in the criminal world in Europe, just on the streets. There's so much
Same here
freedom
too.
without much constraint in that area, but lots of constraint on the middle people who just want to, get on with the day and smile. They're getting more constraints with fines and road charges and things. But we can't have freedom without constraint, and that all starts with self, doesn't it? Because we've shown what it's done in the UK in particular, where the police have said, streets not our problem. People haven't got their own constraint. They're really choosing with their freedom to be, like Trina said, mischievous is a light word. But then there's other people that in their godly status are choosing, in this freedom, I'm not going to choose to take advantage. I'm not going to choose to, go fund me everything I possibly can because it's fashionable right now during whatever period of time it is. There's people showing that constraint. And you've shown that constraint. You got the magic that you needed from there, and you did a Zeus. You moved on and went on to channel it elsewhere.
You know what
But
Bonnie just said in chat, guys? This is great. I will say that in the Bible, it says the Spirit of God will dwell with man no more than 120 years, which makes God a parasite. Wow.
was
Son of
that
a bitch.
funny? Was that funny?
Right? I'm like, wow, I like that. That's kind of wow. That
Great.
makes sense. The spirit would leave. Yeah, that's wow. Good
Like,
one, Bonnie.
damn. By the
That,
way, Jenny, this is for you. I want to read something from Colleen. Chloe, you said that
oh,
you have someone that you know is having a rough time of it. I don't know if she is sick or what that is, but we'll send her some energy. So,
mhm,
Jenny, this is today is the time of the manifesting of our intentions. It is the new moon, and
mhm,
particularly at this time of year. So the new moon holds a special place in cosmic cycles, symbolizes fresh starts, new beginnings, and potential for growth and transformation. In ancient times, people harnessed the energy of the moon through rituals, recognizing its power to manifest intentions and desires. During the new moon, it's crucial not to spend time with negative people and energy vampires. Instead, surround yourself with positive energy and people who love and support you, because the new moon phase is a time of sowing seeds. You want to ensure those seeds, aka intentions, get the very best start in life. Thank you, Colleen.
Yeah.
beautiful.
That cool?
My
Yeah.
my crystals are outside with the drinking water that I'll have later on and in the morning. So I'm smiling as she's saying it, because I'm like, me and you've been doing the same, Colleen. Doing something in preparation, because yeah, I very much needed to seed into this new moon. And it's I like to put them out like 3 days before, 3 days after. That works for me. But I can decant the water and fill it back up again. So I like that. I love that, Colleen. We've been doing the same.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I have to go back and see in the chat room. Chloe says she has to go and get ready. Well, we just speak favor over your Chloe. Nothing missing, nothing broken.
We love you, Chloe.
We
So
do.
25,000 days, here we go. Um, and I look back and I often find that we're involved in a substance we call reality, but it's so fluid. I
Yeah.
don't know if is it fate that brings us to our destiny, or is it the destiny that's embedded into the fate? It's a question I ponder quite often.
What if it's both and there's just that
I would
little bit of
disagree.
unpredictability that sits in the middle of it, like that 10% of, oh shit, we don't know what they're going to do. You know what I mean? What if it's both? They both pull you where you're supposed to be going, but there's always those little time windows of where you could choose something that wasn't anticipated. throw the whole shit out of whack.
Do you remember the movie Wall Street
Yeah.
with Charlie Sheen and Michael Douglas?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So Bud Fox, who was the up and coming stockbroker, that movie had a huge influence on me and my entrepreneurship. It taught me to grow the brass balls, that there is no barrier, no ceiling, no door that I couldn't get into. And there was one scene in there where George Gecko has got Bud Fox in the back of the limousine. And the limousine pulls up to a stop sign or stoplight. And they look out the window, and you have one guy who's homeless. And you have what you suspect is probably the same age person, another guy who's dressed in a three-piece suit, umbrella, waiting for his ride. And George Gecko, Michael Douglas, looks over at Bud Fox and says, "So tell me, is that fate or destiny that we're looking at?" Two separate people, both men at the same age, but two different destinies, two different fates. And I realized at that point in my life, because I didn't have any education, very little experience in the industry I was going into, and it was a very tough industry to break into.
I can
The fact that I
imagine.
did it was freaking miraculous. But anyway, um, so did I alter my fate, or was it my destiny to do that anyway? And
I
all
think
of you could look in your lives.
I think very much like Trina, that it, again, like most things that I feel out spiritually or physical or unseen, are inseparable, almost mirror images of the other. You know, in this realm in particular, with this dualistic side of us and side of things, that the environment that we live in, um, you know, I don't feel like the seasons are disconnected from each other. They don't come in on the one date, they merge, don't they? Merge out, merge in, and merge out. So I think very much like Trina, it's that bit in the middle, that chance card, that can change it. What are those things that you stand on with no handlebars? They have big wheels and the kids just stand on them and move. They're like hover,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but they're
that's what
two
they call the
wheels.
hoverboards.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, these two wheels, that's what comes to my mind. And you know how they can spin around. It feels like that sometimes, that just the two wheels are turning, and it depends what choice you make as to where the wheel spins. The Wheel of Fortune's on the bottom of the deck there, staring right at me. But that's the kind of, you know, it's an interaction between the two. And there's that middle joint that seems to swerve you off sometimes, for good or bad.
Yes.
Well, as I look at it, I think it's evidence of how much truly we are gods.
Yes.
Because if I was risk adverse, in other words, afraid of losing everything, I've done that many times. So I learned very early in life, material things come and go.
Yeah.
It's the experience and the memories that become priceless.
Yes.
So if I was risk adverse, then I it would appear that I, as a god, chose my destiny or my fate to a different path.
Yeah.
But it was me.
Yeah.
Understanding there's something greater than all of us.
You know what it's like, I think about this often because you see, okay, like the experiences that you had with your parents and specifically your father, you know, the oppression and the beating down, you became so strong because of that. Your power and your strength that, man, you had to dig deep and you found it and you harnessed it. Wow, Wayne, what
I
a
wouldn't,
power.
as a kid, I wasn't going to let anyone beat my spirit. I wasn't.
Yes, and that's
And
so powerful and rare. That's rare. Children
my
usually
guides
take it
came to
on
me as, yeah.
themselves. And you decided to overcome that. That was huge for the collective because you helped a lot of other kids get there because they couldn't feel that frequency, but you anchored it because you did it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's a huge thing to give to the collective because every time we accomplish and heal from a trauma, it affects the whole. Some people fully anchor it, or some people just they sense it. They have it in them, but they don't know really what to do with it. But you were a gift to the collective because you
As
overcame
you two
something.
are, and as everyone here, because it's amazing because we've all arrived. I don't think this is the destination, but we have arrived at a station.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check
I
in.
really do believe that. I feel like that, we're hanging out and there's others coming and then there's others that go, you
Yeah.
know?
All of us, Wayne, I see it's rebels. We're rebels. We came here as the rebels. We'll go
I
out as the
believe that.
rebels, and there's no stopping that train. So yeah, I think that's our common thread is we came here to be system breakers, to break
Yeah.
forth new thought, new concepts, to shift the perception, because we're going to look at things a little different. And I think that's our unity factor is the rebel card. Yeah.
I had a president of a CEO tell me I had balls that were the size of the state of Texas. He said, "You remind me of the junkyard bulldog." He said, "The tenacity that you have." He says, "There ought to be a fucking picture of you in the dictionary." Because he says, it only takes, as he said, you got brass balls to come and do what you've done. And I got the sale.
Yeah.
A
He
lot of
literally
what
told me,
Trina
he
was
said, I'd
saying.
have had your ass thrown out on the street.
Yeah.
Right.
But a
Right.
lot of what Trina was saying about your childhood, that's the type of fear of 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 something that isn't even real yet that a lot of people have. They would already be afraid of the failure before they tried. So they actually
Right.
make something up to be afraid of. It's not actually present yet. And by you having that upbringing and going through the things, it does make you less triggerable and less fear fueled by outside forces, because that type of fear of walking into a building and showing some brass balls
Yeah,
is nothing
literally.
compared to what you faced when you were a kid.
Uh,
It's nothing compared to what you already faced when your body was so much smaller. Your spirit was already like knocking down walls. So again, was that totally necessary? You obviously thought so. And whatever seeds you've sown along that path, I'm damn sure most people would say, we're sure it was supposed to be too, because we're thankful for that interaction
yeah,
along
yeah.
the way too, you
At 10
know?
years old, I had my brother and we were on a bike and we had our piggy banks that our grandmother had sent us, and we had a sleeping bag, and I had a plan to get to the airport. And if we could sneak onto a plane, then we could leave Texas and get back to California. The plan worked up until the airport. Of course, I was only 10, the other
Yeah.
variables I did not quite figure out. Needless to say, the cops came and it was quite an adventure after that.
I bet. Wow.
10
And
years
then
old.
then I saw your religion. You went into one of the most powerful faith healing movements.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Isn't that
It's like
crazy?
it's like you weren't playing it. You came here to tackle like your upbringing showed you everything that you did not want and everything that you would make sure and rise above. And not only do it a little bit, full blown with big brass balls in
Oh,
hand.
yeah, yeah,
For
yeah.
real. Wow, the magic you learned in the church, that is such a precious gift, because to be a witnesser and a participant of miraculous, wow.
It's touching the ethereal. And
Yes.
that's within both
Yes.
of you. I see it in you and Jenny. I see it in you and your gifting. I mean, there's a commonality that has drawn us all in this tight, it's a beautiful tapestry.
Yeah.
There was a Broadway play called Joseph and his multicolored
Technicolor.
coat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Coach
yeah.
Technicolors.
Thank
That's it.
you. Thank you. And that's how I really see um this group here. I mean, we are a beautiful tapestry.
Oh, the rainbows that I see flying
Yeah.
from the arcs of our brains is great entertainment. Wow.
Yeah. And that's what you got to love it, because you turn this way and you get that certain look, that different color and that kind of shine. When I was in NASCAR, DuPont had this paint that they were experimenting with, and no matter how you looked at it, the paint would change. It would
Yeah.
go
I
through the whole
thought that.
rainbow. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I look at this group. You know,
Looks great on
Yeah.
the road.
shine, baby, shine.
It is. It is so crazy because, we've always, this whole world has taught us that everything's outside of us. And now that we're understanding that This God beautiful power is within you. And that's what the teachings that all
Yeah.
the masters, the high masters, all
Yeah.
talk about, that you have to learn how to do this inside of you. Nobody can teach you how to levitate. You have to learn how to do it on your own. You have to get to the vibration to go into particle form and become invisible. That's a vibration. All of these are accessing frequencies of vibration. And what we think about, we're vibrating about. What we speak about,
Julianne
we're
wrote that
vibrating.
today. We're entering into, and I've been seeing it and reading it, that there's clear evidence that, I think that there's going to be a bifurcation, that 2024 is not going to be a fun year.
No.
But on the other hand, I think it's going to be a year of tremendous, this group, individually and collectively, we have the gift, the power, and I believe the strength, discipline, that no matter what it becomes out there, that we can, as a group and individually, actually now give protection not only to ourselves, but to others.
You know what I
100%.
keep hearing, Wayne?
What's that, dear?
Been hearing the same thing since I was 3 years old.
Well,
You're
sweetie,
gonna
the
be like
vision has come to
Jesus.
pass.
No, we're supposed to be like Jesus. We're supposed to start doing the miracles again.
I
And
think
literally
so.
to be doing the miracles again is his highest teachings. And he said, I am the way, I am the light, I am the way shower. That's all he meant to do. No religion, none of that. He wanted you to do what he could do because he knows that we can.
In
And
the
it's
movie Man from
so,
Earth, the
yeah,
woman asked him about that, who was a devout Christian, and
yeah,
he said, listen, he said, I was already well 35,000 plus years old. He said, I learned a lot. He says,
yeah,
these bodies respond to, he said, many of the plants don't even exist today. So he said, yeah, he said, I was using knowledge that I had brought back from India. And yeah, it looked like I cured a few people, but he said, really all I did was show them how to heal themselves.
yes.
Yeah, that's what I was
Yes,
going
he
to
always
say.
told
It's
me
like,
that. He always told me that. I didn't do it. It was their faith that healed them. They did
Exactly.
it. I was like, oh, they did it. He goes, yeah, they believed it.
They
It's a
did it.
placebo
Yeah.
effect.
that's
I was
like,
like,
that's 101, that I know that in the churches it was never that you healed somebody, it was that you were a conduit. It was actually really frowned upon for you to say that you've healed somebody. One,
yes,
because you wouldn't want to take that debt on energetically for you, because if you are doing it, then you can take some energy from that person that you may not want. But two, for that person is actually, it's supposed to empower them to say that they are receptive enough. Now the church is saying, oh, you're good enough to be healed this week, a lot with the messaging. But actually, as I was taught with my strict structure, it was, you never claim that you're the healer, you're the conduit. Let me open me up, let me amplify the frequency in this body
yeah,
to balance it out, And that's the thing with the Jesus thing, in that, and I've said it over and over again, is that at the same time that that particular Jesus may or may not have been in that particular place or not, there was millions of women and men around this realm doing exactly the same journey, which is why we all feel the same journey. We're head above and we're shot down. And before that, people are following our lead and praising us, and they're so happy. But then the church doesn't like what we're saying. Everybody's like, oh, you witch, you wizard, you warlock. We get put on a cross before we can blink. And when we go against the systems, like tossing over the tables, people usually fight us back. The system fights back. So that same story was deliberately limiting to something outside of self that can never be quite attained, like the Jesus character. I know, and people could follow me around, Trina, you, Wayne, and people in this chat, and all you would see miracles in my day. You would
right.
see people finding their purse because they've dropped it, and I've been the one walking up behind them. You would see people getting laid hands on in the street that have never been channeled over before in their lives. You would see it. that's it's no joke that you do that every day, because that's the choice of being God's again, isn't it? What do you choose to do with the freedom you've got today, with the words you've got, the actions you've got, the hugs you've got, the paying for shopping that you've got, the whatever it is, what you do. And that's when the choice of, like, what type of God do you want to be today? Because if
In the
you really
movie, Paul, the alien, said, I like how when he laid hands on the girl with the molecular eye disease. And so the other guy said, "How'd you do that?" He says, "Well, actually," he says, "you can do it." And he said, "It's just merely a pack about the energy going with the molecular energy." And he went on through this whole thing. Basically, you're right, Jenny. I can lay hands on people and they can still heal. I mean,
All
it's
we're doing is we're
the
delivering a
conduit. You said it better. It is. We're just simply, yeah. Yeah, that's the great thing about us humans. That's whether you want to call us a human God or God humans, whatever you want to do the phrase, we do have this ability to lay hands on one another.
Yeah.
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 And
It's
So easy. Everybody could do it.
it's
Everybody.
like everybody can do it, man.
absolutely. New Yoda said, "Can faith heal the economy?" And New Yoda comes up with some cracking lines. So I know
He
it's
does.
a bit sarcastic as well, but actually, the faith in the economy has been broken since they built it. It's all another illusion on top of an illusion. But faith can heal the economy, because people have been told to have faith in the economy and faith in the dollar, faith in the pound. Look, it's lasted far longer than the people who built it even predicted it would. So faith, that's how strong faith can be, when people just believe, whether that's because they've been told all their lives to believe in the economy, believe in, it's going to be uptick soon, in the headlines, and just keep paying your taxes, it's going to be all okay. Or that kind of faith has actually healed the economy many cycles over. This economy should have sank many times, but that faith keeps it going.
I keep thinking it's really time for miracles. I mean, for real, bona fide, like recordable, provable miracles. Distance is never an obstacle when it comes to healing. So I was wondering if the three of us should start getting volunteers who have serious illnesses, and let's see if we can start working this out and prove it, get it to where we can repeat it over and over again. Because
We can do it in a private meeting, and that way
and then
no one gets there.
Yeah, when we can get this to repeat on command over and over, because we figure out, okay, we activate this. I'm activating this in me. Wayne is activating this in him. Jenny's activating this in her. We're bringing this Trinity in as a power focal point for healing for this individual. We're all given what we've got into the code. And if we can replicate this, then we can teach others how to do it. And we will
Can I expand on that?
The healing fire of this world. It'll never be anything ever before. And this will be the second coming of Christ.
So there's foundation in what you were talking about. I have been fortunate to be around large ministry leaders, whether it's Copeland, whether it was Ernest Angley, a whole slew of them. Let me tell you what the secret was that the inner circle knew. We understood what television was about. You see, television I'll just put it in its esoteric perspective, is that it captures an energy and then it transmits that energy. And if there is a receptor out there, for instance, Ernest Angley was the first who began to say, "Put your hand on your television and I will put my hand on the camera and God is going to heal you." And he would go, "I see someone with a headache. You've had this headache. And bingo, reports started coming in all over the United States, in other parts of the world where this was watched. And from that moment, we began to learn something. It's that freaking powerful. But you see, we don't want to believe that out in the straight world because, well, that's just mere religion. No.
It would take the power away from the church and the government.
It would.
Take
Yeah.
the power away.
And that's exactly how it worked,
I would say the one rule for anybody coming for healing is don't come with compromise. I was born with things that should have killed me many times over. And I used to compromise when I was a little girl. I used to say, please, God, take this symptom away, even if you have to break my arm to balance it out. I used to say that because
We're
I got
trained by that. That's what the
tired
church
of it.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and then eventually I've figured that, well, that's a curse. And then the other thing that is so paramount is that the reason that TV works, one, because of the flicker rate and everything putting you in hypnosis, but two, because the people who donated to those guys that put their hands on the TV, they believed him. And
It
so
works.
to
I'm
have
just
that
telling you.
belief in the capability of your body, you don't have to know how it has the capability or why, but just to sort of start saging yourself each day with belief in self. I just believe me. I just believe my body. I just believe this system that I have. And that really prepares you for any session that you have together or separately. The belief in not in us, not in any one person in this chat, not in any of the labels in a Bible or anywhere else, but in the body that you sit in the throne that you're in the throne that you are. And that
And you
really
hit the key though. We say it all the time, the television.
Yeah.
We're so indoctrinated with that. We don't even think about it, what we're saying. And that's the energy that we're talking about. And it's the same thing. How does one channel who begins to say, I have a prophecy of, you can look at the Matrix and YouTube and see this is in Facebook as well. When you have people that have the ability to make a prediction, they're going to make a prophecy, you will see people are drawn to that. Why? Because that's the supernatural.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep seeing it. It's like, remember I told you since I was 3, I've always been told you were here to be like Jesus, and that wasn't an ego thing, and that wasn't a me only thing. It was a millions of us thing. And that's what we know him was the one who did the miracles. So that was my understanding as a 3-year-old, was that we were supposed to do things that people thought were supernatural, but there
I
really
met
weren't.
Pat Robinson, who was, basically kind of Southern Baptist in his approach, became Pentecostal later. But when he was starting the 700 Club, he realized that and he bought a little tiny station. And what happened was, and I've seen this play out time and time and time again, what a small little group can actually begin to do. Um, we were one of the first founders of 700 Club. And, it was just a couple of hundred, and then it grew to a couple million. It was involved in St. Louis in one of the very beginnings of the mega churches. It was just, it was 6 couples, and we started in a little tiny storefront, which then eventually grew into 10,000. I have seen this play out time and time again. It takes faith. We all believed it, and we made it come to pass. Miracles.
Yeah. And it is television. It's not just tell a lie. It is television.
Tell the vision.
A vision. Because if they can implant the vision, then we're the manifestors, because we're the many. So if a few can implant a vision all around the world in so many countries, that still have TV, that are hooked in at that hypnosis rate, they're literally playing a perception into your mind's eye for then you to go out and play out. They did it with rap music. They did it with horror movies. Killings go up when there's certain movies that go viral at that period of time. The rap scene was more of a scene of speaking of the streets, how they were, speaking of the culture and the things, the food that they ate. And then there was that change, and all of a sudden there was division between people that they didn't have before. And it changed the vision. People started visualizing division, and it was there, so quickly.
When I do business coaching, I don't do it anymore, but I used to coach CEOs, and I would tell them, you have to have a business plan. You have to write it down. And here's the thing I learned about in the Old Testament, there's magic in there. So in the book Habakkuk 2:4, it says, write the vision down, and though it tarry, it shall come to pass. Now, the story behind this, Habakkuk, I can't even say it right, was a prophet. So the children of Israel had just come back from Babylon and the temple was destroyed. It was strewn out everywhere. And the people just said, well, fuck it. It ain't ever going to be like it used to be. So God was mad. And so he spoke to his prophet. And what that prophet did was take down the vision. And when he put it to stone, where everyone would come through the gate each day to the market, they would see this temple. Within 2 generations, guess what? The temple was being built. It works.
It does work.
So is that not a god or a goddess?
It's proof. It's proof that God's in us.
Yes, thank you.
It's proof that God is in us, because if you can imagine and bring that into a manifested physical form in this world as proof and evidence of that manifestation, that's proof that you're creating. There's no denying that. So that's proof that God is in you, and you can utilize that power to anything you want to do with it, bad or good.
And it's not religion. It's like the theme, who is the enemy of humanity? I think it's us.
It
I
is.
really do. I think we're our own worst enemy.
It is. It's our consciousness.
What's that, Jenny?
Always comes back to self, no matter what
It
spiritual
does.
coach you're having, no matter what application in life you're looking at, no matter what event. You can, even if somebody's been so awful to you, you can still only come away truly. You can waste your energy on thinking about their actions and thinking about their words, or you can waste your energy or you can use your energy in a useful way by thinking, but I can't actually control anything that came out of their mouth or any action that they made. You can only ever look to you. And that's where the power is of, so how do I change now? How do I respond to this? What's my response? And it's from that playing field, without the triggered stuff, that you can start working through things deeply. It always comes back to self. While people are still looking outside of self, no matter what experience it is in life, they're not ready yet. They need to process still to be able to say, I let go of all of that and I'll deal with what is my territory to deal with, and always self. So yeah,
I love this. Well, ladies, that hour just simply,
that was
I swear, what the hell happened? I mean, it's like we were just talking about birds. It's like
the leaves and the birds and the trees.
what happened? I mean,
You guys in chat today have been amazing, just gotta say. And the Dr. SY, wow, he's been dropping some amazing comments. So much
I like the guy. I like,
I love it.
yeah.
You guys are so brilliant, and I just love your consciousness, and thank you for your participation. What a gift. What a gift.
Thank you all. I mean, there is some very enlightened master beings here. I mean,
wow.
like Gaia.
Yes.
I mean, I was just gotta say it, just like
Deborah,
Gaia,
I'm like,
Deborah, Chloe, and Bonnie, and voiceover. I see all of y'all in here. Think agape love always and forever. That's beautiful. Within that name is love. Yeah. Bonnie and Lioness of Gaia. I just love you folks.
Breathe
Robert
you guys
V.
in and send love back. Oh, I love you. Thank you for the exchange.
I'm gonna make me cry. So
powerful.
yeah.
It's powerful.
What's that song? Oh, it's Roxy music. Love is the drug that I'm looking for.
Yeah.
You say two, and I say four. We're going to get. Oh, anyway, I digress. Shirley, we love you too. CLT and everybody. Jackie, so much thank you. And all of you. Pearl Jones, much love to you, darling. Red Honey, good to see you. I know I speak out there to Ginger Grin, Lauren, and her husband, and all you folks down in Australia. We just love you, Mucky Experience.
Very
So
cool.
next week, ladies, I guess we'll do a holiday theme. How's
yeah.
that? We don't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
decorations, you know, but
We could do a special, a
Decorate
Christ in us
ourselves.
special instead of Christmas. Christ in us special. How do we activate this power
I
inside of
like
us,
that. Yeah.
manifested in real world, provable, repeatable situations?
Okay, so we're going to do the happy show next week.
That's right. Happy show.
Yeah. I always think of Ren and Stimpy, you know, but it's
Ren and
kind of
Stimpy.
dark in some way.
Love it.
Stimpy, you stupid fool, you know, but
Right?
anyway,
My
I grew
brother
up with the
used to,
Three
my brother
Stooges, you
used
know,
to be so cruel with that.
wise guy. Anyway. All right, ladies, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody in the chat room, everyone watching. I do love y'all. I just appreciate it. And, you know,
Much love.
so anyway, we're gonna make like a tree and leave.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I love the chat.
Me
and
too.
the three of us are going to be like a banana in